Spin it again.
It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena.
You know what, I've heard people call, and I kind of like it, the era that we're in, the post-truth kind of era.
And lately there's been a lot of coverage in the real news about the growing and booming business of creating fake news.
Well, I don't know, maybe he was watching CNN fake news. What do you think?
You are fake news.
Sir.
Go ahead.
Let us return to the fight. This battle is far from over.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to yet another edition of Real News in the Morning here, this digital hangout / whatever this thing is that is turning into a community building extravaganza shine. My name is Mr. Henry. It is a Friday morning. It is about to get hype. We got the weekend coming up. We have reopened the economy coming back up. We have it returning to a state of normalcy, fingers crossed, coming back up type thing, shine. How you doing this morning, buddy? You all right on your end over there in Cape Town, Knoxvilleville?
I feel really good. I feel really good. It's a Friday. I'm putting the big triangle back on the screen right now, just like just rocking out. The big triangle. Anyway, I'll go back to this. But anyway, I'm doing fantastic. I'm ready for the weekend. I'm in a way. I always get sad on Fridays because we don't broadcast over the weekend, so it's like a little less to look forward to.
Hey man, I'm down for broadcasting. You need to get the broadcast bug out of you, man. Just
right. Just holler at you.
Holler at your boy.
Well, I do. I have been running. I haven't been consistent with it, but we have run 2 episodes of the Jordan Peterson Genesis lectures on Saturday nights, and I'm probably going to do that again this Saturday night. It wasn't the most popular video, but it got 150 views or so. But probably running the 3rd installment of the Jordan Peterson Genesis lectures on Saturday. So there'll be at least be that, and we can hang out together.
Well, those Jordan Peterson, the ones you're playing in particular, man, I've studied philosophy for quite some time. That's heavy stuff. That is super duper heavy stuff.
It's thick,
right?
For sure. It's absolutely heavy, but I like it. I mean, it's cool, it's I don't want to say it's non-theological, but it's kind of like an academic moral reading, not moral but not theological reading of Genesis. It's super interesting. It's from a guy with a doctorate in psychology and just about human nature and literature too, kind of the importance of the literature part of the Bible. But anyway, now I'm just rambling. But anyway, happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday, everybody. By the way, greatest audience in the nation appreciation segment here. You know how this goes. Let us know how you're doing, what you need help with. Mr. Oh my gosh. Dude, I got to break for a second. Kelly just said in Facebook a second ago, is Mr. Henry wearing a t-shirt? Honestly, bro, I'm laughing only that hard because I thought to myself, that is breaking news. I seriously thought this morning, I was like, have I ever worn a t-shirt on camera in front of these people ever? I mean, all the way back to the talk radio days, I was thinking, is anybody going to notice that Mr. Henry doesn't have a collar on right now? Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I am wearing a t-shirt. That's right. It's Friday. It's casual Friday, Kelly.
Old John Everyman Henry over here.
That's right. Man, if I showed you
of the
what
people
the
himself.
was, y'all are gonna hate me if I show you.
It's $100 t-shirt from the Netherlands. What does it say?
Yeah, it's a TLA t-shirt. You don't want to see that.
What's,
you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, well I'm sure it's really cool if you're wearing it, Grant. I'm sure it's super cool.
Hey, greatest audience in the nation appreciation segment here. Let us know how you're doing, what you're thankful for, what you need help with, how we can help grow this community. I don't know, something new I'll throw out there too. If you have anybody that you want to bring into this community, that you want us to give a shout out to, that you want us to reach out to, whatever else, let us know. We want to build this community in any way possible. Reach out, John, saying reach out. Oh man. So what you're thankful for, any of that stuff, reach out to me directly, personal message on Facebook, Shine directly, or the Facebook Real News message here. Any way you want to get those requests out, praise, anything else like that. We're trying to build this community, help each other out, all that great stuff. Shine, let me jump into some local stuff here, buddy. Before I get to do this as well, top of the show notes here, as we're doing every single morning as well, the let's see here, link to, there it is, cool. The link to the show notes, the Evernote version is there, much easier to read through. You'll also see links to the Glenn Jacobs event tonight. That is going to be fantastic. A little bit of prep for that this morning as we're talking about reopening the economy. What does that look like? What do stores look like? When do restaurants open? All your practical questions, plus some of the sort of like more political, philosophical side of like, how do you draw that line between civil liberties and getting people back to work safely and all that stuff we're going to discuss tonight. It's going to be an awesome event. Major shout out to our boy David Shine Thompson for setting all of that up for us. Also, getting Tennessee back to work safely. There's a thank you letter we're sending out to Governor Lee. If you appreciate Governor Lee for what he's doing, for drawing that line of not having to choose between this false dichotomy of everything has to be shut down or everything has to be open as normal, right? There is a way to get back practically while keeping people safe and focusing on the economy at the same time. If you want to thank Governor Lee for that decision, sign that petition. And one that's near and dear to my heart here out in Nashville, they're talking about a close to 40% property tax increase, as low as 20, as high as 40. I'm thinking that could actually branch out into Knoxville, maybe the Memphis areas, maybe some other areas if Nashville does it first. We're signing it. We got a petition out there that goes directly to council members saying, hey, if you could just calm down for a second, consider some discretionary spending cuts first, maybe cut some wasteful spending first, and then look at raising property taxes, or possibly just don't reach deeper into my pocket at all, especially right now, buddy, when we're talking about, we just did another $484 billion small business loan bailout type thing yesterday. I mean, probably now is not the time to be looking at raising property taxes. We just can't afford it as individuals. All that stuff's in the link there for if you want to help us take action. Restaurants, by the way, Sean, in this area of Tennessee, Nashville, and Knoxville, restaurants in some areas are going to be opening as early as Monday, with retail stores opening as early as Wednesday. However, Governor Bill Lee was very specific that maybe not Knoxville, maybe not Nashville. Give me 2 seconds. I'll break this down because I don't think it's a bad idea. Here's the story coming from the Oak Ridger, actually. Restaurants in Tennessee will be allowed to be open on Monday for dine-in services. Yeah, y'all heard me right. On Monday for dine-in services with reduced capacity. This is what Governor Bill Lee announced yesterday during his update, talking about his phased opening of businesses again. Now, Lee, he said that he will not extend a statewide stay-at-home order past April 30th. Also announced that retail stores will be permitted to reopen on Wednesday. Both types of businesses must initially limit the customers to 50% of their regular capacity. All right. So I suppose what this will look like in your favorite restaurant is the booth beside you will be open, and then the booth beside that will be open. You'll be staggered, one open, one open, one open. I presume you'll see the same thing in a lot of areas going forward. The state will release additional guidance to those stores and restaurants that are about to follow reopening. Now, here's the important part, okay? He did say that he's having further announcements this morning, today as well, about the reopening strategy, and that he went on to say that, quote, not every industry will be in a position to open safely immediately. The majority of our businesses will be allowed to reopen their doors next week. However, this does not apply to Tennessee's largest cities. Hear me again. This does not apply to Tennessee's largest cities, Nashville, Memphis, and Knoxville's, and a few others, where he said that local authorities are going to be determining their own reopening plans. Now, Sean, again, this is where I'll give my quick take, and I want to kick it to you and to the Real News audience. I know we got a lot of comments to go through here. I personally find this great, okay? I think this is a fantastic way to go. Now, on its face, I get it. If all the other restaurants in Tennessee are allowed to be opening, Mr. Henry, why would you say that it's not okay for Knoxville, Nashville, and Memphis? I say that because I don't think blanket solutions are the correct answer. At a federal level to the state, or at a state level to the localized areas of communities or cities or municipalities, or however you want to look at it, I think the more local you can get with the solution, the better it's probably going to operate. I think this entire week, and one of the themes of this show since Sean and I started the program here during this shutdown period, has been localized solutions are far more effective. You have to start with community leaders, community activists, and the community itself to figure out what will work for them, and then branch out from that. How many times have you heard us say verbatim, my personal opinion, what works for Knoxville is probably not going to work for Nashville, and vice versa? I personally believe this is Governor Lee, again, trying to make a concerted effort of where to find to draw that line. Draw that line of maintaining some sense of civil liberties, of a small, limited, overarching government, of a limited federal government and a limited state government, and when you need to have government intervene and actually act somewhere, right? So I get it, man. Maybe I'm wrong, Shine. Tell me, I'll kick it to you. Is it wrong that Nashville and Knoxville don't get to operate this way? Or am I correct in my assessment that no, it's probably best if the leaders of Knoxville and the leaders of Nashville are deciding what's right for them, because what's right for them may not be right for the surrounding counties. But go ahead and we'll hit some comments as well.
Well, they're not opening because they you know what I'm saying? They're not opening because they don't like you, right? They're not doing it to be mean or jerks or any of those kind of things. That's important to say right out of the gate, considering all the high emotions involved in this. And even if you think they're wrong about it, I doubt they're doing it specifically to tick you off, even though it messes up your life. You get what I'm saying? So that's important to say, right? We should be patient with these people. We should. So that I just want to say right out of the gate. Be patient with these people. They're already opening up way before a lot of people in the country, even if they open up in like 3 weeks. I mean, Chicago may be shut down till June, so at least you don't live there. But I think it's important to remember we're not just opening up to open up. We're opening up based on or using the federal guidelines of trending down hospital visits, trending down infection rates, trending down death rates. And that's why we're opening up. That's why. We're not doing it for any other reason. That's why. It's not because the lockdown wasn't a good idea, It's because we have medical capacity. It's not as big of an issue. Like, it's trending downward. That's why we do it. So if our leaders think, like, when they look at the federal guidelines and they look at opening up, and if they say, this doesn't match, this doesn't work out, or maybe I'd like a stricter standard than the federal guidelines, then, I mean, you come into some debate there, but that's what I mean. They're looking at things, making decisions. At this point, we have data. Like Knox County, I can't speak for Nashville, but here in Knox County, like, we have a health department that's been getting some pretty high marks. They've been keeping track of everything. And Mayor Kincannon and Mayor Jacobs' decisions are being informed by their data that they're collecting. Yeah. And I don't know. This is why it's more important than ever that you vote for the people that you like in local government. If it's ever been glaring that you want the people in local government to reflect maybe how you feel, no matter where you sit on this, because you may be the kind of people that think it's stupid to open up. I'm not going to assume that everybody watching Real News thinks it's a good idea for everybody to open up. Maybe you're one of the people who doesn't want to open up and you think it's dumb. Then maybe you should have voted in the county race. And if you're one of those people who thinks that we should have never been closed and we should have opened up yesterday, maybe you shouldn't have voted for Kincannon. Or maybe you should have gone out and actually voted, because only like 5,000 people voted in the city election. So, I'll just say those things. It's up to our leaders. They're using data. They're not making decisions just to make you mad or make you feel unsafe. They're trying to do their best. And even with people I disagree with, I'm being patient with right now, because their decisions have heavy weight. If anyone die, and people will die, people will die. So they'll have to live with that. All these people, every mayor, every county mayor, every city mayor will have to live with the weight of these decisions for the rest of their lives. So I don't have to. So I'm being patient with them.
And look, I think what you're starting to see a little bit to what you said. I'm jumping a bit to a national story here, but I think it is pertinent, especially whether we just brought this up a second ago. All right, so I'm not sure if anyone has seen this clip or not, but it seems to be that there's a strange little narrative starting to form. This narrative that I believe is inherently misleading. One that's sort of presenting or positing, if you will, a false dichotomy, a false choice, in the sense that there's only one of two options, okay? One of two options between what I said before, that either the entirety of the economy has to be open up right now, return to a state of normalcy, just like it was right before the coronavirus outbreak, or everything continues to remain shut down. And I don't understand how we got this narrative. I don't understand how we got to where we are with that, or why that makes sense to people. I do believe that there's a proper solution. And I believe that like your own Knox County mayor over there in Knox County, man, Glenn Jacobs, rather, there are ways in presentations where you could do this safely, return people back to work in a safe manner that protects public health while at the same time recognizing we have a very real economic situation. Look, sure, we've been doing it already. We've been doing this the entire time. Home Depot and Walmart and Target have been open. People have figured out how to take hand sanitizer with them, wear a mask, put glove on, stand 6 feet apart from each other. We've been doing that and flattening the curve. Okay. Now I get it. People have been staying at their home. They haven't been going out as much. All that stuff is, yes, it must be taken into account. But I do want to say, man, here's a clip. It's coming from Fox News. It's Sarah Huckabee Sanders' take on something that Alexander Cortez put out. I think this is a little bit where some of this narrative is coming from, that it's only this either or choice. Now, granted, before I play this, this is a bit, if not a lot, of Alexander Cortez using this as an opportunity to pitch her version of what she calls democratic socialism, what's basically government control of the means of production. Okay. That's in a nutshell. And if you tell me I'm wrong, go look at the Green New Deal. Tell me the Green New Deal is not outright government control of the means of energy production.
She's not the only one either. There's several people who've made comments from the top to the bottom. Like even the Twitterati people are making comments about this as an opportunity to remake the U.S. government and remake our culture and things like that. But I'll let this video play.
Here's this clip, and we'll get to some comments on Facebook right after this.
To go back to work. They want to make a paycheck. AOC is urging a work boycott. Listen to this.
When we talk about this idea of reopening society, only in America does the president, when the president tweets about liberation, does he mean go back to work? When we, have this discussion about going back or reopening, I think a lot of people should just say, no, we're not going back to that. We're not going back to working 70-hour weeks just so that we could put food on the table and not even feel any sort of semblance of security in our lives.
Sarah?
Look, I'll give Sarah Huckabee Sanders, her chance to give a critique here in a second. It's pretty much what you would expect, okay? It's the run-of-the-mill response here. But look, Enoch Moore says in Facebook here, everyone should protect their own health. They should choose to stay home. Their fear of being sick doesn't mean the government can shut down any business. All right, this is what I'm talking about. I think this individual hits it on the head. This aspect of deeming things essential or non-essential because the government tells you so is it's an oddly subjective way to do that, okay? There's not a lot of metrics behind because, again, one more time, I'll stress the idea of what is it that makes Target essential to be able to sell me a PlayStation 4 if I wanted to go buy one right now. I could do that. There's a Target that I could throw, I could throw a football over the mountains if I wanted to.
It's a very nice Target too.
But nice. I could almost throw a football 2 times in a row and hit this Target. That's how close it is. I could walk over there and buy a PlayStation if I wanted to. But if some little computer store down the street that was a mom and pop shop wanted me to sell that, it's not deemed essential. It seems oddly arbitrary and somewhat subjective, I suppose, in the way they're drawing their lines, because Target also so happens to be selling me essential items. Is that's what's going on? It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I think the aspect behind it, going to what Alexander Cortez said, man, is only in America would liberation be meaning that you could get back to work. I don't know. Is that a critique? That seems like a positive argument. I don't understand how that's a critique because, yes, dude, only in America would we say like the idea of self, not just self-responsibility, but self-actualization, the idea to do what's right for you and your family, the idea to become something, to rise to something better, to self-fulfillment. That those are the ideal, the notion of American dream only in America. Could you pursue the American dream again? I don't understand what the critique is. Now, granted, Sean, it made much more sense when she went on the back end and said we shouldn't return to work for 70-hour work weeks and minimum wage. I was like, well, that makes sense now. Why she's pushing what she's pushing. Now I get it. Okay, now it makes sense on its face. But the entire thing, I think you see what I'm talking about. Sean,
she thinks the American employment experience is akin to slavery.
That's right. And that's what she's pushing this narrative of. It's either all or nothing.
That's what makes that comment make sense. Because that comment first, for people that are certain kinds of people, that comment wouldn't even make sense. Like, why wouldn't you want to go back to work? Like, there are people, I know this sounds crazy to people like AOC, but there are people that like going to their jobs. There are people who like running their business. There are people who get a lot of enjoyment out of either making something or fixing something or building something. I get a lot out of my work. I love work. I work too much because I love it so much. And honestly, if I hadn't had it during these weird times, it's helped anchor me. But she comes from a different world where people don't like their work. And I don't know what I only know about what those people think. I don't get why they think that, like why they hate working so much. I don't like why they talk about work like it's slavery, like the fact that they have to do anything they don't want to do. Also, anything they don't want to do is like if you're asking them to do it, it's a huge negative. That's also weird to me. I do things I don't want to do all the time because they need to be done. But very, very odd. It's odd for us, right? It's just people coming from a different world. And I'm not saying that means that her argument has merit. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, for some people, they wouldn't even understand what she said on its face because they don't get it because they like their jobs. But a very, very odd thing there from AOC talking about work being, I mean, basically saying it's slavery. I'm disappointed that this continues to devolve into some kind of stupid partisan fight when everyone, especially people like her, people who are elected officials, should just be working towards solutions. Instead of getting into the narrative stuff, into the framing, we should just be talking about what we know, what we should and could do. And I don't like it. I mean, I don't know. And what's weird, too, is like maybe it's a totally different mindset about how people view government up there in New York. But the way I look at it is I have stayed home because I choose to. If I wanted to go somewhere, I would go. So, like, I don't have to boycott work. I could just go to work or not go to work. Like, it doesn't have to be this big deal. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need permission to go to work from the government. I don't need permission to go to Home Depot. I've gone to Home Depot. I've gone to Walmart. I went to a birthday party with friends, and I'm not sitting here waiting on permission from the government to do it, nor if they said you have to go somewhere, would I take that seriously? I wouldn't even take that seriously if they said I had to go somewhere. You get what I'm saying? So that's another mindset difference that's a complete disconnect between me and her, or me and her constituents, because I don't need permission and I'm not waiting for permission. That whole thing's weird. She's a weird chick. Her makeup's always on point. I mean, I watched her in Congress yesterday. She had the best makeup in Congress. Her speech was even timed right. She timed it for 30 seconds perfectly. But she's one of those people when I meet them out in the world, like at a bar or at a restaurant, and I'm like, I just don't think we're going to get along.
It's just not going to happen.
It's not the stars. When I look at the grass, I see green, you see purple. It's very odd. Tomato.
No,
which is weird
honestly,
because I heard she used to party in Knoxville back in the day when they were recruiting.
Oh, really?
When they were remember they recruited her at Gay Street.
Yeah,
at that
right.
weird office on Gay Street, and I'm pretty sure I saw her at a pub back in the day. Pretty sure.
By the way, quick little update on that story. Not update, but just reminder. If people don't understand what Sean was talking about, that office on Gay Street, that was that big controversy that came down about 2 years ago, where there was this office on South Gay Street. I don't remember the 714. I don't remember the exact address. Doesn't matter. But it was an office that had no furniture in it, no employees, nothing. It was just being rented out for some odd purpose. And come to find out that this office was being rented out to essentially funnel Democrat candidates through. And the idea was that you would hire political consultants through this sort of dummy corporation, pay the political consultants, but you weren't actually paying any individual. It wasn't a real person. You were just then using the LLC or some type of corporation or whatever it was filed under to take that money and then funnel it back into a campaign fund as a donation so that you could just basically get that money later on, right? Or just further your cause. It was basically hiring fake employees through donations because you can't use the donations for things like that. You can hire a political consultant. That's totally legitimate. You just can't use those donations for something that you said you weren't supposed to use them for.
Yeah, that's what that office Huger and Sychek Rabarty and a couple other people. They created AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and the one who's less relevant. I can't remember her name. The one from Minnesota, the representative from Minnesota. Omar, you got it. Yeah, they created them and interviewed them. They created them and interviewed them, or at least some of them in Knoxville.
Hey, and by the way, Norm said in Facebook, any business must manage risks. Government needs to step aside and let them manage the CV risk, get out of the way. Totally understand that. That's why I keep saying localize these solutions, man. Make it as community driven as you possibly can. Understand that individuals are responsible here, okay? And responsibility also has to say you have to deal with the ramifications of those decisions as a community. Good, bad, or otherwise, bro. Like, you have to be able to deal with the possibly bad decisions of what may come out of that and anything else. Go ahead, Shannon.
Hey, Mr. Henry, if you don't mind, I want to try something we haven't done on the show today. I pulled a clip or recorded a clip of the White House Coronavirus Task Force yesterday.
Yeah.
That I can play on the show, and we're sharing audio, so you should be able to hear it. But this kind of goes, it takes the topic from local to national, and I thought it was really interesting. I thought it was the more interesting part of the press conference yesterday. Everybody else thought it was interesting that Donald Trump was talking about disinfectants and light and stuff like that. I was they totally took that out of context, but that's not a big surprise. But you would think Donald Trump would be all for anyone wanting to open up as soon as possible, right? You would think that, because the narrative is he is the genesis of all the let's open up now and not wait. But he had a pretty scathing thing to say about Georgia's governor. And what's his name? Governor Kemp down in Georgia. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, that could have easily been a rant about the governor of Tennessee, but we must be doing things a little bit better. So that's why I wanted to play this clip. It's kind of short, and there's more context to get. So if you want to find out more about it, you can go find out more about it. But this is kind of an experiment. Normally, Grant plays the videos, so hopefully this goes well.
Parlors, no, that. And by the way, I want them to open. Oh, excuse me. I want them to open, and I want them to open as soon as possible. And I want the state to open. But I wasn't happy with Brian Kemp. I will tell you that right now. Yeah, go ahead.
So are you surprised he defied you on that?
No,
he
didn't. No, he didn't defy me at all. That's your language. He didn't defy me. You know what happened? I said, you make your own decision. I told him that. I said, you're not in the guidelines, but I'm letting you make your own decision. But I want people to be safe, and I want the people in Georgia to be safe. And I don't want this thing to flare up because you're deciding to do something that is not in the guidelines. And I went to Deborah and Dr. Fauci and other people, and they weren't thrilled about it. And I could have stopped them, but I decided, and we all agreed, they got to watch it closely. So we'll see what happens. I told him very distinctly, I said, Mike was there, I said, you do what you think is best. But if you ask me, am I happy about it? I'm not happy about it, and I'm not happy about Brian Kemp. Go ahead.
Okay, so wow, like I'm not happy about it. Not he's not doing it the way I like it. Not if he only did this one thing differently, I would be happy. No. I'm just not happy with Brian Kemp. So I wanted to play that, not to prove anything or even make a point. I just think that when we're starting to have these narratives develop, these Overton windows are starting to develop, you're starting to see people pin sweeping opinions on people when there's more nuanced positions. And not just with the president, with everybody. When we could have easily done that with AOC. And I really think it's important to show video, show proof that there is nuance to things. And like right there, that clip goes against the grain of narratives. And I think it's just important to inject in the conversation. I thought it was interesting. I don't know how, and I don't know why Georgia, why the governor of Georgia, Donald Trump, is mad at him, but like everything seems to be okay in Tennessee. I think it has to do with their opening barbershops in Georgia. But I think it's other stuff too, and I don't understand. I don't know if they have the same restrictions on bars and restaurants with the capacity or what. But thanks for letting me play that. I thought it was a cool clip. It runs against the grain.
Well, and you also have to look too. One of the best things I found out of the clip of is when the reporter responded saying, "So are you mad at him defying your orders?" And immediately Trump responded with, "No. Those are your words. That's not mine. That I am not qualifying this as someone being defying my order. That's absurd." Okay, because then he follows up. This is just Trump being pure Trump. Okay, Trump's pure blatant honesty is saying like, "Look, man, I told the guy you can make your own decision." Now, that's what my legal advisors came to me and said. The Constitution necessitates that you tell this individual that a governor should be able to make a decision for his state. That is literally the definition of what a governor is supposed to do for his state. All right. If a governor is supposed to do anything, I suppose that's what it's supposed to do. So Trump came to him and said, "Hey, It's your state. You have to make that decision. I'm going to tell you I'm going to be mad about it, though. I certainly have the right to be upset about it. I don't think it's within the proper advice to do. This is a decent example of what I think should play out. Okay, you have to live by the decisions that you make. At the same time, that doesn't mean that I suddenly cease to have an opinion on what you've done, president or otherwise. If I'm the president, I can look at a governor and say, look, man, I think you're opening too soon. I think some of these things you're not phasing out properly. My experts, which arguably we would say are some of the best in the world, certainly in the nation, we absolutely know that they are the best in the nation, which means I would think they're some of the best in the world. They're telling me that it's a little bit too soon, that you might not be doing it correctly, that you may not be taking the proper precautions. And if that's the case, you get to make that decision, but I also get to say I think you're doing it incorrectly, right? I also get to say that you may be phasing this out wrong, man. I think it's a perfect way to show that Trump is doing what he's supposed to be doing. And actually, in the show notes yesterday, buddy, I did link to something to where, let's see, NBC is actually reporting now the 7 things that Trump is getting correct. And one of these things that he's getting correct is that he's kicking it to local municipalities, local individuals, communities to solve this. And I'll tell you one more reason why I like that idea so much, to localize the solutions, is because it helps the narrative. Now, think about it this way, okay? If we're talking, let's make this Tennessee specific, all right? Let's make this Tennessee specific, and let's say that we had a reverse Kincannon situation. Let's say we had a situation where the city mayor of Knoxville was like uber conservative or ultra libertarian, or maybe he was just like a self-proclaimed anarcho-capitalist where there's no government at all. Like that was the vision that this individual had. Okay, and this individual wanted to come out and do something even further past what Kemp would do. It would be a very, very odd exchange for President Donald Trump to then be critiquing something that a city mayor was doing. It just wouldn't resonate with people. You know what I'm saying? Like it wouldn't carry. People be thinking, like, hold on, dude, this is a single city in a single state. How is this making national headlines? I don't understand. How does that follow? You really have to get me to understand, like in the aggregate, how a single city's decision is going to influence the larger community around that. And that community is going to influence the state. And this state's going to influence the nation. And you've lost me. It's too much. You've lost me. However, Trump critiquing a governor makes at least a little bit of sense, at least enough sense to say something about, to report on, to draw out this narrative that there's conflict within the Republican Party, right? That's obviously what that reporter was trying to do.
Or debate.
Yes.
Which is different, And that's what I mean. It's like that reporter immediately tried to do the, are you fighting? And it's like, stop being a 3-year-old about it. Like we're government officials that are making life and death decisions for our constituents. And you don't need to be acting like it's a wrestling match. It's not a wrestling match. People have different opinions. They just happen to have life and death consequences. But that doesn't mean they're fighting. There's not conflict. There's just like, I don't know. And that's why ultimately I think he said, well, I still left it up to him because I feel like that's the best thing. I mean, he's closer to it. He's the executive over the Georgia Health Department. He's getting the briefings. You get what I'm saying? And he also knows how many people are unemployed and how large those concentrations of people are and where they are and what they could do if they run out of food. Do you know how close the bad areas of town to the good areas of town in downtown Atlanta are? Do you know how close they are? Pretty close. Like not that far. Like there's one of the nice rich people shopping centers just down the road from one of the worst areas of town, south of town. And I guess like what I'm saying is there's a lot of factors. And I applaud Trump just like you do of saying, these governors know best. And this is a good example of him saying, I'm going to let them do their thing, even if I don't agree with it. Yeah. Which to me shows principle. I don't know. And nuance. It's nuanced. It's not just the Republicans are like, let's open up. We don't care if we die. And Democrats are like, let's close it down. We don't care if we die. It's nobody is that ignorant. Nobody, I mean, or at least nobody is those caricatures that are getting thrown on television.
That would be a South Park character too. That's how they would portray it. Let's open up. We don't care if we die. Let's shut it down. We don't care.
We don't care if we die. Can't you see a card? And it's cartoony to picture 2 cartoon characters having a dumb argument like that. But that's America. That's the caricature. But it's not real. It's not real. So stop being mad at the person on the other side of you. There's so much, even in our chat this morning, there's like a little bit of animosity and like, and I get it. We're all just barely holding in there and trying to make it. I mean, and this is me and Mr. Henry too. Like we have to call each other and be like, you okay? You have been locked in the house for a while. Are you okay? And we have to like talk it out and help each other. And we encourage you guys to do that in the chat and with each other and with us. But let's try to keep a cool head. Let's remember to be patient with these people, because you're not having to make life or death decisions. I'll throw that out there.
Speaking of the chat, by the way, Rick said in Facebook a second ago, have you guys heard anything about when churches will open? Actually, quick pitch again for the Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs thing, the event tonight. That is one of the questions I will be asking him. Maybe not something church specific, but community gatherings at large, right? So UT football games, churches, anything where you have to sit in an amphitheater for anything like that style of large gatherings. That is one of the questions that we'll be addressing with him, is what does that look like in the Knoxville area? What do you think that looks like across the state? The governor, again, pitching the idea one more time that he's letting communities solve these problems for themselves. He went to certain mayors across the state and asked them to put together a plan for a strategic phased reintroduction of reopening the economy. Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs is one of the individuals he selected to do that. That's what we're going over tonight. So that is one of the questions I'll be asking him. Links at the top of the description of this Facebook video here, YouTube as well, to see that Zoom meeting if you want to join us. Also, let's see, Albert Bernard Citizen said people don't want to go back to work because they have been woke to the power of the family. They've been woke to the power of the family. Well, that mentality should have been there before this. I think the idea of what they're saying is like, look, dude, these all the decisions we're making right now have consequences. And consequences, I think, Sean, is a term you actually were waking me up for this while we were talking about. Sean and I do a lot of quiet time, devotional stuff back and forth with each other. And a couple months back, you were waking up to me this idea of like making order out of chaos, like the idea that in chaos there's not just potential, but that there's something consequence itself seems like a bad term, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Okay, there are ways that out of decisions where something seems bad can inevitably work good. In this situation, shutdown might seem bad to a lot of people for very obvious reasons, a lot of which we've just spoken about. But some of the good that ends up coming out of that is, I think, the things that Albert just made the comments a second ago about how it's reorienting family life. It's getting people closer back to one another. It's forcing them to not take things for granted again. It's forcing me every single time I go outside for a walk to appreciate that more than I ever have before, right? Of appreciating the things that not just we took for granted, but the people and reaching back out and getting back to roots and objective principles and foundations and all this great stuff, man, all this fantastic stuff where we're then allowed to burn off the things that we don't need anymore so we can slender ourselves and progress and streamline and be better going forward. And this is a perfect transition here into this next story that I have prepped in the show notes here, that when I was prepping this story, Sean, until I found the subsequent story, I thought this is going to be a good little story. I think maybe it's on the goodnewsnetwork.org. That's typically the site that I use for Fridays to throw out some good news because it's Friday. Let's do a good news day type thing, right? Well, it's an odd one, man. So it's a little bit in the vein of that comment before, where shutdown does have consequences that we may not initially see. One of those end up being we now have air pollution in major cities that's dropped by as much as 60%. And I don't want to bury the lead here, so I'm going to go through the stats here in just a second, but understand where I'm about to get to with this. I thought that was going to be a good news story until I saw it was followed up by a Michael Moore headline from Market Watch. Market Watch is now reporting that Michael Moore climate film, which just dropped yesterday on Earth Day, Michael Moore climate film on Earth Day dropped, snubs solar and urges population control, ruffling mainstream movement. So it snubs solar and urges population control. All right. So here's some of the stats, by the way, on what we're seeing, which is a very, very real thing. On as much as
hold on, let me throw out because I'm an electrician, so I feel like I am and I have installed solar. It's so funny to me that now that people are finally waking up that solar is not really profitable, that they don't go, okay, so we should try to figure out how to use natural gas efficiently since it's almost free. And we don't, you know what I mean? They don't say that or something else. They say, you know what? We should just sterilize people so they can't have kids. That's what we should do. Solar's not working. What's the backup plan? Kill people. All right, yeah, that's what we're doing. That's so weird. Weirdos.
Well, dude, I'm telling you, from the way, let's just jump into the Market Watch story. I can go back to the stats on the lowering climate change. I'm sure we've all read something about that. I'm just saying,
what a weird reaction to the thing I want to happen isn't going to happen. What's the backup plan? What? Kill people, or sterilize mothers so they can't have kids. I mean, what kind of weird human being do you have to be to have that be your reaction?
I'll go back and do the updates or the stats. Just understand that part of what we're talking about here is that major cities have seen, air pollution drop by 60%. I'll update those stats here in just a minute. It's important. Here's what's okay. Here's the first. This is Michael Moore's documentary with this black screen about the show. It's freely available on YouTube right now. There it is. Planet of Humans. It's called. This is 18 seconds into the film. So literally, I've had just enough time to get through the Michael Moore little production logo type thing. This is 18 seconds into the film. Here we go.
I've got a question. How long do you think we humans have?
How long does the human race have?
Ooh. Oh, wow.
I don't exactly know, but it might be soon.
I have no clue. No. I hope I give me at least 50 more years.
I think there's infinite amount of time.
Infinite. It's infinite, yeah.
I give us a million years.
Being kind, I would say probably about 10 years.
10, 12 years.
Thousands of years. 47 years, 3 months, 5 days. It's approximate.
We're kind of like cockroaches on the planet, no matter how
that
much
was my favorite answer, by the way. I just wanted to get that one. 47 years, 3 months, and 5 days. Look, and what it goes on to show, eventually the idea of documentary, I'm sure, Shine, I didn't prep him on this story. I don't even know if you've ran across this yet, but almost verbatim what you said apparently is what the documentary does, okay? They get to the point of basically saying that, like, oh, now that we've stumbled upon the realization that in order to get this energy to make solar or to get this energy, there's not the production behind solar, the production behind the batteries needed for Tesla's cars, the cobalt that these kids in Africa have to crawl through little like holes in, I mean, like literally the caverns that they have to crawl through, 9-10-year-old kids to pull these raw material out of the earth it's not even borderline on some type of human rights violation. It strictly is to get that stuff. So what China's saying is, now that you've woken up to that realization that that's what's going on to get these resources, Michael Moore is now saying, well, I guess that's not the way to do it. I guess we got it all wrong the entire time. So apparently Michael Moore and the guy that's producing this film, and I'll read you this exact quote here, end up saying like, maybe the best idea is just population control. Here it is. Quote, a better approach would be people having fewer children. A better approach would be people having fewer children. Infinite growth on a finite planet is suicide, is what they end up saying. A couple more things, and then I'll let you respond here, Shine. They go on to say that, look, the Michael Moore and Gibbs is the last name. They argue the so-called greenwashing goes beyond a few brands attaching themselves to environmental actions to sell cars, shampoo, meat, or sodas. They suggest that much of the green movement, as we know it, including the banks rolling out financing, pushes solar and wind energy components and electric cars that rely too heavily on deforestation and electricity generated from coal and natural gas to produce them. Really? Really? Took you 20 years to figure that out, bro? What are you talking about? Of course it does. Absolutely, of course it is. In my assessment, Sean, it's not a reason to not to continue to pursue those technologies. As you streamline those things and as technology increases in a way that it has this telescopic evolution of doing so, it will get better. We will use less resources. I don't think it's a reason to not pursue it, but to not realize that from day one, you always have to take that assessment into account. You always have to take that assessment into what your critique would be of the green movement. If you're not doing that, you're living in some fantasy world, bro. Here's the final quote of one of the reviews that I was reading. It says, all the green liberal A-listers, Bill McKibben, Al Gore, Van Jones, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., are attacked in this film as pompous and complacent high priest caste of the environmental movement who are shilling for a fossil fuel industry that has sneakily taken them over. And Michael Moore went on to say that he felt that that electric cars were once a good idea, but I didn't really think about where that electricity was coming from. He said, I assume solar panels will last forever.
You had me at I didn't think. That I totally believe. Okay. Michael Moore.
He finishes by saying, I assumed solar panels would last forever. I didn't know what went into making any of them, such as quartz and the components of the fossil fuels powering the manufacturing.
He didn't even mention the worst one, cobalt. Cobalt is the thing that is in the batteries and in the solar panels that is mined by African slaves. That is the thing. And he didn't even mention it, which means he's completely ignorant. I mean, and he showed that there. He's like, I'm making a documentary about something that I know nothing about. What if Grant and I did that? What if we said, hey America, we're going to make a documentary on, let's just pick something, Grant. How about the biological breakdown of used nuclear materials? Let's talk about that.
That's a good one, right?
Yeah, and we're going to do a documentary about that. We know nothing about it. We know nothing. We have our opinions. Yes, we have our opinions.
But we're from
of
Oak
course.
Ridge, buddy, and we glow green, so we know what we're talking about.
Yes. But what's funny about let me give a little bit of qualifiers here. It's only the people in Hollywood in this world that are really saying the stupid stuff. I know people that are in like sustainable energy like degree programs. Like I know someone in a doctorate degree program for sustainable energy. And they know, and they're being taught that solar, wind, and things like that just really don't have a future. For lots of reasons, mostly because they're not as efficient. Like you end up using more materials, you end up using more energy, more labor in order to produce the power. So they're already, even in the most liberal places, telling people that. But here's the deal. They're pushing sustainability, like I was saying, biological processes breaking down things instead of using chemical or electrical processes, things that don't require power and things like that. Going for the stuff that is going to be cheaper, because when it comes right down to it, if you're spending less money on it, you're using less resources like natural gas. So it's really just these people in Hollywood who don't know, and not like Michael Moore's from Hollywood, but he's more Hollywood than Michigan, right? Am I right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Am I right? It's those people who don't know how to turn the reality into a narrative that's as good as solar and wind will save us, right? But at least we're seeing them admit that these parts, the cobalt and stuff, the things that you would need for these battery banks that store power at your house if you had a wind mill at your house, that's not sustainable. The cobalt loses its conductibility over time. You know what I'm saying? It can't store it. I mean, you look at your iPhone, right? Your battery eventually will die. It won't hold power anymore. This happens to everybody's cell phone. That's the same thing that would happen if you had a battery bank in your house and you spent $60,000 on it and were storing power in there. Those would die eventually. And that's why we can't do it. And there's not enough cobalt and other precious metals in the world. There's not enough for probably the city of LA, let alone the whole United States or the whole world. But I don't know. I know that you were talking about something completely different, but this is something that bugged me a little bit for a while. I used to work in solar. And the only time I was ever installing solar panels was when the government was subsidizing. And I'm not kidding. I got out of that work. I left that job because I was about to get furloughed because the government stopped giving out the grants. They didn't even cut them off. They just delayed their approval of them by a month, and it almost shut my company down. But that's how inefficient solar is. If you're doing it to virtue signal. Yes, and maybe in 100 years, maybe if they find a different thing to use for conductivity and the nodes that go between the glass, because that's the part that we can't get enough parts for. And maybe if China is not the main driver of innovation and manufacturing of solar panels, it might get better. But right now, that's the deal. And even China does it to virtue signal.
It does, and I think that's the major takeaway here, and that's actually what Emily Atkins said, just a longtime climate journalist and creator of the Heated newsletter, going on to say that, like, this is her quote: "It's not because the movie critics and the environmental movement, it's not because this movie criticizes the environmental movement. She wouldn't even watch the movie." She said, "Y'all know I love criticizing the environmental movement. Really, the reason I don't want to review this movie is because I'm tired of having to spend hours consuming and debunking messy yet blockbuster climate reporting from dudes who seemingly woke up a few moments beforehand and decided they were climate journalists. Climate change is a very difficult subject to cover," she says, "due in large part to the sophisticated 40-year disinformation campaign around the subject perpetuated and funded by the multi-trillion-dollar fossil fuel industry and its powerful political allies. But that doesn't change the fact that harmful inaccuracies have been consumed by many people." This is a little bit of what you're talking about, bro. And this is where I'm coming to, is that I was saying, like, look, Michael Moore, the problem I have with this is not necessarily that you're making a documentary now devoted to the fact that there might be a problem with garnering and gathering these resources behind the climate change movement. The problem I have with that is that the industry experts, Republican or Democrat, or it doesn't matter, industry experts were telling y'all the same thing 20 years ago. They were telling the same thing to Al Gore. They were saying it's good to start this conversation. It's good to have a baseline assumption and assessment that human beings existing on this earth are probably impacting the environment, at least to some capacity. So that's not a bad square one to start with. If you throw a piece of trash on the ground and that floats down a river somewhere, it might hit a fish, and who knows, bro? We might want to start the conversation there that our presence has something to do with infecting our environment. But to go and jump 15 light years ahead to say that now we need to thrust everything we have into these technologies that shine and industry experts were saying have a negative impact, have a negative cost benefit analysis, meaning the energy you get out of it is not as much as the energy you have to put into it to get that energy out of it, right? If I have to put 10 points of energy into something to get 8 points of energy out of it, I'm losing 2 points of energy. That's a very sophomoric assessment. That's a very baseline breakdown of what it means, but that's essentially what it means. And that doesn't even take into account the human cost factor behind it, okay? I think the problem I have with it, which most people are having with it, is that Michael Moore made this film not realizing that, bro, you shot the last 20 years of what you did right in the foot from the beginning of this thing. From the start, you shot the last 20, and in so doing, just like Shine said, you shot every single Hollywood elite in the foot. Dude, the cover, I just read this a second ago. All the green liberal A-listers, Al Gore, Van Jones, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., they're all attacked in this film as pompous and complacent high priest cast of the environmental movement. They did that. You did that. You shot the entire movement in the foot. And apparently the best thing you have coming out of this now is the quote that I just read a second ago, that a better approach would be to have fewer children. Quote, infinite growth on a finite planet is suicide. Bro, it's just like, what in the world? I don't even have to explain the reason.
That's why humans have died out multiple times in the course of their history, right? That's why we've always only been here. It's not like there's ever been an option to go through a dimensional portal to another planet somewhere or get on a spaceship and go to Mars. I mean, what's so weird is that's always been the case the entire existence of humanity. Yet, that's suicide. Even though it's the only, it's very odd. But you know what's so weird too, Mr. Henry, is they could catch a lot more fish if they push sustainability.
Dude, right?
In a market-driven way where it's like, hey, if we all save some money, everybody wins. If we can do a little bit of investment, save money. I mean, look at the people who pushed here in Tennessee. It was a big deal, pushing the more efficient homes thing. There was subsidies and grants to either update your AC or your HVAC system, encouraging people to reseal their house so that the air conditioning didn't fly outside or the heat didn't fly outside. And you're not telling people you're doing it for a moral reason to save the earth. You say, hey, you will save tens of thousands of dollars over a decade if you follow this advice and get these things and upgrade your stuff. And people did it. People did it all over the state, and it saved energy. It saved money. It took resources that were literally going out the window and made them valuable. Now that's something everybody can get behind. And I want to, if you're just joining us, the reason we're talking about sustainability and climate change and stuff like that is because there's a narrative out there that because humans have left the stage is cleaner. The earth is cleaner because humans aren't here, and it's there. And people, unfortunately, immediately went to, well, shouldn't there be less humans? Look how nice it is outside. And we don't believe that either, and I don't want to speak for Grant, I don't believe that sterilizing people, saying they can't have kids, or killing people for the environment is good public policy.
You can definitely speak for me on that.
Yeah,
by
I mean,
all means, go
that's
ahead.
my opinion, but I believe it goes against our morals. I think it goes against our culture, and it goes against literally your species. It goes against humanity. But killing people is not a solution to make it prettier outside. And I think you could sum up the whole conversation with that. The reason we brought it up is people are literally saying, look how great the world would be without people because it's pretty. And that's disgusting. And those people, I hope they can't sleep at night because it's really gross.
And again, man, what I said a second ago, the industry is progressing. Technology is getting better, just like with everything else, man. Technology is going to be applied to this, to medicine, to everything in the world possible right now to make better solutions, to make more efficient products, to make things that I don't know, dude, make it make sense other than just virtue signaling itself. Daniel just said in Facebook. So you were talking a second ago, Sean, about the efficiency of saving money, of being a good business or a good economic decision. Daniel just said in Facebook a second ago too. Solar makes sense for off-grid with batteries if you have an efficient house. I don't know if this is what he meant, but bro, in this time right now where there's a lot of government overreach, where a lot of people are worried about their civil liberties being taken over, a lot of people are getting back into that prepper mentality, not meaning that as a disparaging term at all. Hear me correctly. Okay, I know preppers used as a disparaging term. No, dude, I think it's you taking right and control over your own life. If you have property to do so, you want to make it all solar, bro, get off the grid, become completely self-reliant. That will help you do that. Sustainable, renewable stuff is a fantastic thing to push as long as there's not that terrible negative cost involved. And that's, I think, just not paying attention to the industry experts because you had some virtue signaling narrative you wanted to push forward, or maybe because you had a carbon tax you wanted to pass, bro. Maybe because you had a carbon tax you wanted to pass and you were trying to start a brand new world economy out of the thing and you were trying to get a leg up on what might be coming down the road. I don't know. Maybe that's a little bit of what was going on. But these technologies are worthy of pursuing. They are worth looking into, okay? They're worth maybe doing in conjunction with the fossil fuels that we have right now. Because some of the statistics that are coming out right now, I told you I was going to get back to that. Some of the statistics that you can see the study linked. This is one of a multitude of studies that have been coming out right now. This one is from IQ Air, a global leader in air quality data and solutions. They've been showing that in major cities, 10 major global cities, that as much as 60% reduction in some of these particles that they take account of, okay? So that's compared to 2019 statistics in that same year period and the same 4-year period too. The cities they accounted for were Delhi, London, Los Angeles, New York City, Madrid, Mumbai, Rome, Sao Paulo, Seoul, or is it Seoul? Sorry, and Wuhan. Okay, so let's see. Delhi experienced 60% reductions in PM2.5 readings compared to the same time period last year. Ours for Delhi experienced unhealthy rated air pollution fell 68% in 2019 to 17% in 2020. 68% of the time had unhealthy air pollution in 2019 that fell to 17% in 2020 during this lockdown period. They're saying South Korea experienced reductions of air pollution to 54% compared to 2019. Look, these statistics go on. And not to show you that it's not just internationally based here in America as well. Automobile-dependent Los Angeles saw its longest streak of clean air on record during this period, saying that fine particle pollution in LA was down 31% when compared to 2019 and down 51% compared to the previous 4-year average. And you can see this as well, Sean, with the pictures that people are taking, okay, of smog being lifted so you can actually see a statue in front of you. I don't know, man. I don't know. The point I'm making is there's something to the statistics behind this. Now, I hope that these, the climate change folks don't get carried away with this because you and I have slightly differing opinions on the climate change stuff to begin with. But I'll say, you, buddy, I think we're right in line in the same thing here with the Michael Moore solution. It's like, dude, are you serious? Now that for some reason and granted, they started, let me be honest here. Michael Moore did start this documentary like 4 years ago. Okay. So this was a documentary in production over 4 years. So it took him 4 years to get to this point. It's not like it happened overnight for him. So he put some time and effort into it. He actually did the research, and to his credit, he actually changed his mind. He changed his mind to realize the industry's not there yet, but it changed him to like, maybe we should just have less people.
No, it didn't change his mind if he immediately went to people should die or be sterilized.
You're right there. You're right there.
So, because that could be the end game for any opinion you have about public policy. When it comes right down to it, if it's more important to you than human life, you've crossed a Rubicon. You need to go away. Yes. You need to go think about things. You need to go to a monastery for 30 years and shut up and not say a word. And the first thing you need to say when you come out is, I'm sorry to everybody for hating the human race. And because you're a danger to people. If you're willing to say those people should die or not reproduce, you're a killer. You're a killer waiting to kill. In my opinion, like, you're an unhealthy human being. You're an unhealthy human being. And because if you don't like yourself, if you're willing to let everyone else go, and that makes you a nihilistic danger. It makes you like the Columbine kids. And I don't like that he's pushing this because there are maybe people who haven't crossed that Rubicon where their political opinion is more important than human life. Because this is a lesson to learn for anybody. If you ever, if in any of your politics, you end it with, well, I don't care if people die, you've gone too far. And you're probably wrong. You're wrong because human life is important. But anyway, I'll get back to you, Mr. Henry.
No, dude, I'm sorry for interrupting a second ago, man. It's just like you got me passionate about what you were just saying there too. I'll take it even one step further, bro. Even if you're not, if you're talking about like we just have too many people, even if that leads you to advocate to not have as many children, that's communist China, bro. Like that is something that is also arguably as bad as what you were just talking about. It's one thing to say we need less people on here, so some type of like human culling, which I don't know if that's what they were saying in this documentary. I haven't watched all of it, admittedly, but I will say I read the quote directly to you where they said infinite growth on a finite planet is suicide. And even if all they mean on that is saying like maybe you shouldn't have kids at all, maybe you should only have a single child or whether, that to me is arguably just as wrong as anything else we've been talking about before. You get what I'm saying, dude? Like the only society I've known that's actually articulated something similar, at least in my lifetime, okay, we can go back in the history books and find something else, is communist China. And what do they do with the girls? I'm not trying to be too crass here, buddy, but with the females that are born in China, they'll just like throw them out. They'll just let them die from exposure. They'll kill them themselves. They prefer male babies, so they just won't worry about the females, bro. Like this becomes a grotesque is not even the word for it, buddy. Right? This limitation on and it's not. See, now I'm getting oddly. I'm about to get real, slightly controversial here because I'm bringing even more home to political side. And
you're doing a great job, buddy. Don't stop now.
AOC has been saying the same thing, dude. It's not just Michael Moore. It's not just this unheard of producer. It's not just the Hollywood elite, man. It's some of these elected officials. And I say that because that was a major controversy about a year and a half back when we were still doing this thing on air. Alexandria Cortez was saying the same thing of how she was asked on one of these Instagram live things that you do. How do you control or combat, climate change or something? And one of her initial responses was, well, maybe you shouldn't think about having so many kids. And I don't even have to go into why that is problematic on its face. Like prima facie, it's wrong. Even if you just want to take one or step two down with me, if you don't agree with me that's wrong on their face, okay, dude, how many times have we talked about the economic implications of that, Shine? About how this weird growth, this tree growth pattern that you end up seeing in America looks at a little bit like this. We have a bunch of baby boomers, and then we have a pretty decent segment population size of those that are millennials right now, I suppose, or anywhere between 20-something, 30-something, or 40-something that can actually produce a consumer class. And now we get a little bit more slender at the bottom. Most other developed nations are the exact opposite. It's a massive descending tree, like a cone almost. Massive boomer population, and then as you get closer to the bottom, they don't have anybody to buy stuff, bro. They don't have a consumer base built into their society. So even if you don't want to follow along with the moral or ethical implications of how wrong that might be, that's fine. At least take something out of it that like, dude, there's real economic implications behind this. There's societal ramifications behind this. It's just like, I don't even know why I have to explain this, buddy. But
yeah, well, here, let's make sure we set the table in case anybody just showed up. We were talking about an article that this whole thing started with an article, and you've seen them. I'm sure you've seen them in your Facebook feeds or on your startup page, whatever web browser you're using. Like I have Firefox, and they suggest stories to me. It's always in there. The world is cleaner without people in it. You see these pictures of clear LA or clear Paris or, blue skies, basically. And it's created this, it's a little bit of the underground narrative. It's not like a mainstream narrative, but it is a thing. Grant's showing it on the screen right now, Mr. Henry. And people are arguing, isn't the world prettier without people in it? And we didn't mean to go down this road, but me and Grant really like people. And...
That's a great way to put it.
Call us outliers, call us extreme. We like being human and we like humanity. Weird, right? But we don't like the idea that people are pushing, wouldn't the world be better without people on it? And I wasn't kidding when I said, if anybody says that, the world would be better without people on it, even if they're doing it facetiously, they should close their mouth, go live in a monastery for 30 years and think about it. And then when they come out, they should say, I'm sorry. And mean it for everyone, including themselves. Because I really believe people who don't like people are a danger to other people. I really believe that. And if you're willing, like someone like Michael Moore, if he talks about controlling the population and getting rid of people, I really believe people like that are killers waiting to happen. I think it's a road of nihilism that is very dangerous. And if they're not going to kill somebody, they may encourage someone else to kill somebody else. Because that there's something about being human, part of your base programming, that protects everyone else. It's that feeling that you see when you see a young child. Like, even if you're a really tough guy and you've had a hard life, a young child or a baby will make you crack a smile and laugh. There's something in our base program that protects us. And I see these people as not having that. Like, would they go, aw, to a newborn baby? Who knows? Who knows? When they're advocating things like telling people they can't have kids, or you hear sometimes, let's get rid of the older people or something like that. Or I don't know. There's people who talk about this kind of stuff, and it weirds me out. And it's just antithetical to who I am. And I'm pretty sure it's antithetical to the audience as well.
No,
hope I wasn't too hyperbolic there, Mr. Henry.
No. I hear what you're saying, man. And that's the thing that rubs me the wrong way too. It's this guttural reaction that I think someone has of the immediate implication that's drawn is like, hold on, bro. Like, what do you think? How do you look at me then? Am I like an ant under your boot heel that could be smashed at your will at any particular moment, right? And it's the proverbial you, right? If it's Michael Moore now, it might be someone else tomorrow or something. But it's just this general idea of sort of a classist or caste style system of someone looking down on someone that was less than, like your life means less, or any potential life means less than mine. I'm somehow deemed more valid or more worthy to exist on this planet than even a potential human being would be, because I got to worry about for my stuff right now, right? All right. And I get it, dude. Look, a lot of this sounds like, well, Mr. Henry, you're not worried about climate change. You're not. Well, you know how I feel about this realness on it. Yes, I think it's a real thing. I think human beings' existence on this planet, this is an opinion that maybe most people don't agree with that watch this program. That's fine. I think human beings' existence on this planet, the starting point of the conversation should be that probably has an impact on our environment. We should probably look into doing something about that. But this style of stuff, this type of rhetoric, that has jumped. That is a jump the shark moment. We have crossed the Rubicon, as Shine likes to say, bro. That is style of stuff that we cannot come back from. And I know we got a long day ahead, man. And we got so many people in here. I don't want to end it now. Let me get at least one more story in here, buddy, before we move on.
Yes, he's keeping on moving. I like it. Keep the train going, buddy. I like it. We used to do a 3-hour show. So
yeah, we did actually. 1 hour is just like, it's too quick.
It's like we haven't even gotten started yet.
All right, so let me stage this a little bit for us, okay? So everybody, if you haven't been following along, one of the things that I like to do when I'm putting show notes together is sometimes when stories come out that just don't make sense yet, I'll give them time to breathe. A lot of times, mass shooting stories don't make a lot of sense to me sometimes. A lot of times the way that they're reported on, a lot of times headlines about leaders across the world. Some of these stories don't make a lot of sense to me. And it's dangerous to make assumptions during a time period where environment changes so quickly. Okay. It can prove costly is what I'm saying. Because I don't know how many people listen to this program later on. One in particular that I saw over the last couple of days is Kim Jong-un maybe did or did not have some vascular surgery or some heart surgery. And maybe he's dead. Maybe he's ill. He's not
maybe
showing
he has
up.
Coronavirus.
Right? Maybe.
Haven't you heard about people having the reason people with heart attacks shouldn't get coronavirus is you can have that inflammation deal. The same thing that they've talked about happening to the lungs. It can happen to your arteries in your heart and restrict blood flow. So, and he's kind of overweight, which most of the people who died in Asia were overweight. He's also a smoker.
Yeah. Right.
A heavy smoker.
And, bro, you got to think about the level of stress that's on that dude's life. He's basically been running that country since when did he take over? 20-something? 30-something? I mean, basically, he's young. He's a young dude.
He's had to
that
kill his
over.
uncle, man. He's probably stressed out. He's probably got people trying to assassinate him all the time. He's probably planning assassinations all the time.
He's assassinating people all the time.
What a weird life. Aren't you glad you're not Kim Jong-un, Having to murder your uncle, What a weird life.
If you haven't heard already, that story's been circulating around. Now, it's not entirely uncommon to see Kim Jong-un go out of the spotlight or not appear in public for long stretches, okay? That's not entirely uncommon. It is slightly uncommon, but especially now with all this stuff going on, and there have been speculation that maybe some surgery went wrong or something. I don't know. That's basically where we're at right now. I say all that just to preface where we're at currently with this press conference yesterday. And I don't know quite what to make of Trump's response here, but I at least want to put it out there for the audience to respond to and get your take on, Shine. Here's Trump responding to exactly what we just set up.
Of the privately...
On Thursday, U.S. President Donald Trump threw more cold water on reports that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was gravely ill.
I'm hearing they used old documents But that's what I hear. I hear the report was an incorrect report. I hope it was an incorrect report.
Daily NK, a Seoul-based website, was the first to report on Monday that Kim was recovering from a cardiovascular procedure earlier this month. They have cited one unnamed source within North Korea, and it's unclear what documents the president was referring to. Trump lauded the relationship his administration had built with the isolated state.
Here we are. You would have been in a war with North Korea if I didn't get elected president. Remember, I was going to be the one that took us into war my first day in office, okay?
However, Trump declined to say if he had been in touch with Kim or other North Korean officials.
When was the last time you heard from him?
I don't want to say.
Since you pointed to me, just a quick question about that. So you haven't made any contact, though, just to make sure?
With who?
The North Koreans.
I don't want to say. I won't say that.
Okay.
We have a good relationship with North Korea. As good as you can have. I mean, we have a good relationship with North Korea.
Two South Korean officials rejected a subsequent CNN report, which cited an unnamed U.S. official saying the United States was, quote, monitoring intelligence that Kim was in grave danger after surgery. And on Thursday, Trump criticized the, quote, fake report done by CNN.
I have a good relationship with Kim Jong-un, and I hope he's okay. And somebody would say, oh, that's terrible. No, it's not terrible. I hope he's okay. And I think it was a fake report done by CNN.
So can I ask you a question?
What do you have? Go ahead. No, that's enough. Go ahead.
Can I ask? But that wasn't my question.
The problem is you don't write the truth. So, as far as I'm concerned, I want to go to the next
Can I
person.
see a question about...
No, not CNN, please. Go ahead.
The White House has not responded to the
I told you. CNN is fake news. Don't talk to me.
Golly, dude. I just had to let it get to that last part.
I was watching that. In fact, we carried that live here on the Real News Facebook page, and that was funny. It was funny, except for it's real life. And I'm really getting tired of the question and answer part, and I might not carry those anymore because it seems like a professional deal until the people start asking questions, and then it immediately gets stupid. Like they asked him if he contacted Kim Jong-un like 4 times, and it's obvious that there's some kind of national security implication. He said, "I'm not going to talk. I'm not going to speak to that. I'm not." And he said that like 4 times. That video cut out a couple of them, and that lady was not the only one who asked about Kim Jong-un. And that's very odd. Like obviously he wasn't going to say anything about it. Why'd you keep pushing it, you weirdos? Mm-hmm. The people who wrote the article, that's who were pushing it. That's who was pushing it. The people who wanted to validate their journalisming, that's so fresh, this fresh journalism from CNN. They were trying to validate that and prove that through Trump. And even that weird video you took, not you, I don't want to blame you, but that video seemed to imply that the United States was like worried about Kim Jong-un. Like,
that was Reuters, by the way, just so you know where it's coming from.
So that's Reuters, which is very like Donald Trump has a special affinity for Kim Jong-un, and he cares if he's dealing with him or his sister. Mm-hmm. Like it really matters. I don't think it does. I think it just matters that we have a good relationship with whoever's running North Korea, and by good I mean you can pick up the phone and talk to them. That's what I mean by good relationship. I think that's what Trump means by good relationship. Because you don't want a rogue state that you can't pick up the phone and talk to, or you have to call a country that you don't like talking through that may lie a lot, like China. You don't want to have to call China to talk to North Korea because China's a bunch of liars. So, like, the fact that we can call North Korea, they're either their diplomatic people or whatever, that's good. That is good. You want to be able to talk to people who sometimes fire rockets over Japan. You want to be able to talk to them so you don't have to shoot them. But anyway, that whole deal was so weird. I'd love to hear more context from you, Mr. Henry.
Yeah, I will say just real quick too, because it's just, man, I don't know. You got to find some humor in some of this stuff going on in this world right now, bro. I mean, the memes going around of just like how terribly tragic 2020 has become, and if you got to be able to center yourself somehow. Facebook is becoming quite punny from this. My sister actually just said a second ago, it's Kim Jong-un confirmed, right, guys? Which I think is awesome. Kim Jong-un confirmed. Norm followed up by saying, is Kim Jong-il? Question mark.
That is the best. That's the best pun of the day. Pun of the day.
Sister, to Norman, Facebook.
Yes.
Gotta love it. Listen, man, here's what I'm saying. That's why I played the clip, because I just started to get my head around the reporting of some of this. Because like I said before, it's not entirely unprecedented to have Kim Jong-un be out of the spotlight, be out of the public eye for prolonged periods of time. Okay, so this is not a brand new thing. Now, again, in the context of COVID-19, coronavirus stuff going around, maybe it makes more sense as to why North Korea would be relaxed with some of that. And maybe it makes more sense as to why other people would be questioning it. But I still just can't quite figure out exactly what you touched on a second ago. I can't quite figure out the spin necessary behind. Is it just that media has nothing left, so they need to play out this old notion again that Trump loves to be loved loves to love or be beloved by dictators? I mean, that's something that's old trite. We've seen this before.
Or
it's old
anyone.
Trump
Right, likes
exactly.
being liked by anyone and everyone. It wouldn't matter who it was.
That's what I'm saying.
He seems to like being liked. That is definitely provable. But dictators specifically, that's so hyperbolic.
And I get it, media. I get it. Trump's a megalomaniac. Okay, he's a pure-driven narcissist. Whatever you want to push out at me, I understand it. But I've heard it before. Like I couldn't quite understand and get my head around it. Now, as far as Trump's response is concerned, I think that does make a little bit more sense to me. At a baseline, at an absolute square one level of analysis, I think the stance on this from the White House is like, dude, even if it is true, you gotta know that the White House is not going to be one that confirms that to you. Okay, at least not right now. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Look, if I confirm that Kim Jong-un is dead, what do you think is going to happen over there? If
war is going to happen.
Or civil unrest, overthrowing the government. Dude, I don't know. You're going to have like South Korea invade. Dude, who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows what's going to take over? That will dominate the news cycle. It's volatile. It's uncontrollable, okay? And I'm pretty sure the stance from the White House is right now, like, we probably know what's going on, but I'm not going to tell y'all. I'm not going to tell y'all right now because of what Trump just said, because you're CNN, because you're Fox News, because I don't care, because you guys are going to put your spin on it and it's going to be inaccurate, and then the public's going to run with that. That's what we do in this day and
there's going to be trouble.
What happens?
And there's going to be trouble. And there's going to be like negative consequences for you asking these stupid questions that you will find out the answer to. The most appropriate place to find out if the head of state is dead is from that state. And that's right. And that's just protocol.
Yeah.
And then it can cause war if you do it another way. I mean, this is a weird time, Grant. The last thing we need is an international incident during the coronavirus stuff. I mean, maybe we should talk about this more next week, but we're already on somewhat of a hot footing with China.
I was just going to bring that up, and the Iran thing too, bro.
And
I was just going to bring up.
Oh, right? So it's getting too hot for me. I'm starting to get nervous. I'm getting sweaty.
Right. And I'm telling you, man, like, look, I'm not trying to roll out the conspiracy theories. Please don't say that I am right now. It's not what I'm trying to delve into. I'm just looking at history for the sake of looking into history. I do know anytime there's been an economic disaster, Great Repression, Great Depression, Great Recession, whatever it might be, if there's a war to help back that up, war is good for the economy, okay? So all I'm saying, bro, is like it's going to be too easy for people to spin that narrative of like oil is at an all-time low. I mean, they are literally paying people to take oil barrels off their hand. It's at a penny right now. And then days and it went negative 40. So if I'm producing oil, I'm literally paying you $40 to go store somewhere for me. I'm losing money on this deal. So one way you can sell oil to a bunch of people again is get those war machines back up and going. And that's what I'm saying, bro, is this is not my assessment. I'm just saying that is the narrative that could be constructed out of something like this, is if Kim Jong-un is dead and we're in some quasi hot war situation right now, or soon to be with Iran, of Trump saying like, if you come get anywhere close to our military ships, we're going to start shooting on you type thing. I don't know, bro. It's just the whole scenario is too volatile. Something could pop off at any moment, right? And I think that's what's happening here, is that it's just for the sake of narrative alone. Some of that information may be guarded. I don't know. Maybe they know that's true. But at the same time, it's like information is freely available right now, y'all. If you want to go find it, I'm sure there are ways to find it. I'm sure there's things you can research. And inevitably, you're going to find out something one way or another, okay? Inevitably, something's going to come from this. We're going to figure this out. And again, Sean and I know we got a big day coming up with the Glenn Jacobs thing. Just a few more headlines so everyone's caught up over the weekend here. U.S. House did pass that $484 billion relief package yesterday. There's a good YouTube clip that I put in there in the show notes. It's at the very bottom of the show notes there. It does a decent recap. Also from the show notes yesterday, does a pretty good job of breaking down what's actually in that package. Some to hospitals, some to some first responders, some to small businesses. It's a little bit of everything right there. Quick breakdown from this USA Today article that just pulls a bunch of headlines. We get the stimulus package. Almost 14% of the 3,000 New Yorkers test positive. That headline doesn't even make sense to me. Oh, random testing of 3,000 individuals. I get it. Ivy League institutions, they're turning down the stimulus money. In particular, Harvard is what they're talking about, is turning down the stimulus money. because fill in the blank. From what Sean was talking about yesterday ago, this is just a story y'all need to research. I didn't want to waste time with it today because it's just nonsense. But Lysol came out and said don't ingest disinfectant after Trump's comments yesterday. I just throw that out there, Shine, just to say that somebody's going to hear somebody talking about it on Facebook later on today. I don't want y'all to be
really
taken
should
by
have
surprise.
recorded that video when he was talking about it, and the guy from the national laboratories who did the study on heat, light, and humidity on the coronavirus. I think we should touch the results of that study at least. I don't know if you have anything pulled up. I can do some of it from memory, but
I got the clip where he's talking about it, man. If you just want me to run with that.
Yeah, I think you should, because you're going to see it's not even about debunking what people are claiming. Just don't pay attention to it. The news yesterday from the press conference is the coronavirus dies quicker under ultraviolet light and with higher humidity. And what's the other one? And with increased temperature. Those are all things that can kill the virus faster, or what they said, make the half-life happen quicker. And that's the big news. All these other things are a distraction. I mean, this is good news. I mean, isn't it? I mean, it makes a lot of things make sense. Why there's not as many cases in Florida and California. Light, heat, humidity. I mean, probably the best place to be is Florida, right? Probably on a Florida beach. That's probably the sand there is least likely to still have coronavirus on it. That's a big deal and encouraging. It's encouraging to know that it's highly likely that we may get a reprieve in the summertime. But instead, you have all these stories saying Trump said ingest disinfectant. Good Lord. He was talking about cleaning up offices. He was talking about using UV light as a cleaner also. Like flashing UV light over surfaces to kill it.
Yeah, well, that's valid.
And things, or maybe setting up a machine that would like blast an office with hardcore UV light to clean it. But these are all things that are very important and encouraging. Anyway, so
well, let me hit these few comments real quick, and then I'll play this clip, because there's one thing I want to say about it. Josh just said in Facebook a second ago, White House press corps has been incredibly disrespectful, talking over the president and interrupting the president. They don't even stand when he walks in the room. He does say, to be fair, though, Trump has been more critical of the press than any former individual to hold office. That's why I like Josh, man. He's very even-handed. He's very fair in his analysis, because all of what he just said is true. The press has been absolutely outrageous, intolerable, and to some extent, Trump's had to play the exact same game of pushing back that hard. Daniel said in Facebook, no one should stand automatically for a politician. Daniel being as consistent as ever. Yeah, that's right. Dude. You don't deserve my respect, politician.
I bet he doesn't like it when they call them the honorable.
Yeah, I bet he does. I'm certainly not. Kim just said in Facebook a second ago, I love Daniel, man. He's awesome. Kim said in Facebook a second ago, I'm not in all caps here, I'm not embracing the new fashion statement of a mask by oil. There you go, man. That's what I'm talking about. It's embracing that self-responsibility, embracing your choice to choose. Kelly finished by saying, we are absolutely in a huge conflict with China. The warships are already there in South China Sea. That's true. Let me say this one thing about, I appreciate you putting that context on that, Sean. Maybe you want to explain again right after we get done playing this clip here. We can end, I don't know, around 10:30 or so if you want to. Because honestly, bro, I did not catch the press conference yesterday, so I have no context for this. And I personally, you know this, Sean, I personally believe as being as honest as possible with this community that we're building with the Real News audience. My honest assessment of this, I believe vulnerability breeds vulnerability, right? I believe if I am vulnerable with someone else, they will drop their guards and be vulnerable in return. That's how you get human growth and progression and genuine community and genuine relationship building. When I first saw this, I thought like, dude, this is a bad look. This just doesn't make sense on its face. This is absurd. It's asinine. Like, how in the world are these words coming out of this man's mouth? Let me play the clip real quick, and Shine can put some more context on it, because without any context, that was my initial segment of what this was right here. Listen to this.
So I ask Bill a question that probably some of you are thinking of if you're totally into that world, which I find to be very interesting. So supposing we hit the body with a tremendous, whether it's ultraviolet or just very powerful light, and I think you said that hasn't been checked, but you're going to test it. And then I said, supposing you brought the light inside the body, which you can do either through the skin or in some other way. And I think you said you're going to test that too. Sounds interesting. Right, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in a minute, 1 minute. And is there a way we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning? Because you see it gets on the lungs and it There's a tremendous number of lungs, so it'd be interesting to check that. So that you're going to have to use medical doctors with. But it sounds interesting to me. So we'll see. But the whole concept of the light, the way it kills it in 1 minute, that's pretty powerful.
All right, now stop real quick. Give me 20 seconds to explain here, Shine, from what I said a second ago, okay? Admittedly, I have no backing in the science that he's talking about. I have no understanding of where he's coming with this stuff. I haven't heard the experts speak about this. I will say I do know they've been using ultraviolet light to kill germs for several years. Shoot, there's stuff you can buy at your home right now. This little case that you can put your smartphone in that just shines ultraviolet light over it. Like 99.999% of germs kills instantaneously, they say. I think they've been using it in hospital systems and medical communities for a very long time. I don't know anything other than that, though, is what I'm saying. I don't pretend to be an expert in this field. So when I assume I'm like your average individual based upon the comments and the coverage that's coming from this right now, when I hear something like that of bringing light into the body or using disinfectant to somehow come into the body, I think like I got no clue what this guy is talking about. Importantly, though, I will say the way that Trump carries himself, the rhetoric that he uses, the way his speech patterns deliver information is it gets confusing sometimes to put it in context. Here's a perfect example, okay? Remember, this is about 2 years ago at this point. He said something during one of these press conferences about they say that windmills are causing cancer and kind of left it at that. All right. Maybe it was a journalist retreat thing. I don't know what it was, but he said they say windmills are causing cancer. All right. And I remember one of our Real News audience members reached out to me and said, what was this about? Because my Democrat buddies are killing me for this. So I researched it a little bit. What Trump was referencing was a study that was put on by Australian experts. Okay. They were showing that there was for some reason, cancer clusters were popping up in close proximity to these windmills. And they were saying that was causing such a public stir that they actually devoted like $30 to $40 million of public funds to study if it is true that proximity and location to windmills actually does cause some cancer. Now, that study showed that it does not. But what Trump was referencing, and I didn't realize this unless I put the research into it, what Trump was referencing was that study. When he said they say, it was other world experts. It was Australian government working in conjunction with an NGO, working in conjunction with another nonprofit organization. There was like 4 or 5 organizations that were working on this one study. So when he referenced they say windmills are causing cancer, what he meant is, dude, like this whole portion of the world is saying that's going on. They devoted a bunch of money to do this study. Now, whether it's true or not, I don't know. But that's at least a small case example, Sean, of what I'm talking about, where I'm not attempting to defend Trump here. I'm seriously not. I have no clue what he's talking about. I'm just saying I've done this in the past, and I've been slightly wrong in the past too, just because of the slightly confusing way behind his rhetoric, how he delivers speech. But I'll kick it to you, Sean, to give a final comment before we end here, man.
Well, I don't know. I think the context of before that clip and after that clip are really important. I mean, that guy was talking about the use of disinfectants and light and actual studies, not theoretical stuff, studies that have been done by the U.S. government in national laboratories like the one we have over in Oak Ridge. So that's important. Also, like, people immediately were like, are you saying that we should ingest, like right after that video, people are like, are you saying we should ingest disinfectants? And everyone was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. Now, and I will admit, when Trump said that, it sounded like he was saying inject disinfectants. And I don't know what he was talking about there.
Right, yeah.
But immediately after that, they asked the follow-up question. They said, are you talking about ingesting disinfectants? And everyone on the stage said no. That's important. But anyway, like, even dealing with this is missing the point, right? Like, me and you are both pretty smart adults. We know not to ingest disinfectants.
Yeah, that's one of those things I don't know why you
I mean, that's a little bit of, and if someone does that, it's a little bit of the Darwin Awards there. And they were gonna die some kind of way. If someone's out there ingesting disinfectants because Trump said it, then they were gonna walk off a cliff one day. I mean, you get what I'm saying? Like, these people were not gonna survive. They weren't gonna make it out of this game if they're gonna ingest disinfectants. So let me just throw that out. Kind of like the Tide Pod thing. Yeah, if anybody was ingesting Tide Pods, they're stupid, not the people who were joking about it. So, I don't know. There's that. But the important part of that whole discussion, and I'll bring it back to what I said at the beginning, what everyone should have been talking about is this coronavirus is not unbeatable. It has weaknesses. It dies with prolonged exposure to UV light. Disinfectants do kill it when you just spray it. I mean, they did studies where you don't even have to wipe. it dies immediately when you start spraying alcohols and different kinds of, they talked about the chemicals you can use. But those are the things we should be talking about, not Trump's mismanaged sentence about injecting or ingesting disinfectants. Do you get what I'm saying here, where the news is being irresponsible? And I would even say not that we're being irresponsible because we have to deal with the narratives, but like me and you, what should have happened from our news media is they should have been talking about those weaknesses of the coronavirus: UV light, disinfectants, how quickly everything dies, how heat kills it, how humidity, even just humidity in a vacuum, just humidity increases half-life chance for the coronavirus. That should have been the story. And instead, once again, the real news is buried. And that's why we do real news, so you can get the real news, not this garbage. I mean, who knows how much money was spent on that study?
Yeah,
who knows
right?
how much that study will be used in future unlocking the economy situations in states? How different states will use that information to hopefully save the jobs of their constituents or the lives of their constituents. And some people won't get that information who are decision makers because they made a rigmarole about the ingesting disinfectants. It's downright dangerous. Real news. We need real news. Reality needs to come back. And I just want to throw out there to Reuters, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, me and Grant would be happy to be your White House correspondent.
Yeah, Trump would love us, right?
Yeah,
Who
well,
are the real news? Oh, you're coming up here, Bush.
In fact, the White House, if you want some people to ask some real questions about what's going on, we'd be happy to come up there and take the jobs of those lame tards.
By the way, Sean and I, unfortunately, and I hate doing this, man, because we got so many people still watching us right now, but we have to end the program currently. We got a whole chock-full day. Speaking of that chock-full day,
pump the Glenn Jacobs thing real good. Yeah. Let everybody know where the link is, because if you think this is cool, imagine when we're actually talking to decision makers.
Yeah, man. Part of the reason why we get in this, Sean and I would go for another couple of hours here, being that we have so many people in the stream with us. We have more than enough material prepared. It's just we got to end it to get to some of this other stuff. Part of the thing we're getting to is continuing to prep and finalize all the last minute stuff for this Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs event tonight. That is going to be a fantastic one. Governor Bill Lee came to Glenn Jacobs about a week or two ago and asked him, can you put together a plan for a strategic phased reopening of businesses that's about to come up here at the end of April, beginning of May? That is in part what we're going over. Large part what we're going over is the practicalities behind that plan, what your daily life looks like, what it might look like or feel like to walk down the street, to go into restaurants again, to interact at your retail stores, all that stuff of just getting ready of what these plans are. We're also going to be talking a lot about, the proper role of government to protect civil liberties first and foremost, and then maybe trying to decipher when, if ever, government should be involved. And we're also going to be parsing out this idea, this nonsensical notion, this narrative that's crept in that it has to be this either or decision, that it has to be everything's all open at once again, or everything's shut down. There is a way to safely do this and protect people's health at the same time, right? So you're going to get all that stuff tonight. Definitely want to hit that Zoom link at the top of this of these show notes. Register right now. Real simple stuff. Zoom is the only way we're going to be able to take comments for Glenn Jacob to respond to during our question and answer session. So even if you're not in the Knox County area, you definitely want to be in there for a guy from leadership that can answer your question. Two other things I put in there as well. One is a letter that goes directly to Governor Lee himself. It actually goes directly to him. Let's see here. Yeah, getting back to work safely. Again, just stressing the idea that I think Governor Lee did a great job of playing out this proper idea that it doesn't have to be that either or decision. You don't have to play into that false dichotomy. You don't have to say that, there's a way that we can protect people's health and get back to business as normal. I think Governor Lee's done a fantastic job. Again, this is Grant speaking, not the character Mr. Henry. I'm not doing it on behalf of any organization. I personally believe Governor Lee has done an incredible job of drawing that line to allow communities to resolve these decisions first and only moving when and if his hand has to be forced, okay? We talked about this yesterday. There's a few things I'll critique him on, but in comparison to the rest of the states, I think it's been absolutely fantastic. And lastly, last thing I'll push out there, in the show notes, third thing down, you'll see, say no to a property tax increase here in Nashville. For all my Nashville listeners, this is actual home hitting to you. For those in Knoxville or anywhere else around the states, around the nation, around the world, I'll tell you, man, we could certainly use your help on this, because my assessment is that if it's in Nashville, Could be coming to Knoxville pretty soon. Could be coming out to Memphis pretty soon. That precedent setting is a fairly dangerous one right now. Okay, we're calling on council members. This is a letter petition that goes directly to council members to ask them to urge them to consider cutting wasteful spending first, discretionary spending. Just cut that stuff first, and don't reach deeper into my pockets at this particular time. Okay, now it's just not the time to do it. I think that's most of the housekeeping stuff, buddy. I think I hear the music going in the background. We'll sign it off for today. We will be back on Monday doing this thing massive big. My name, Grant Henry. David Shine Thompson sitting across from me, signing off for today. We love y'all. We'll see you soon. See you tonight.